Have you ever heard of the episode of Wife Swap that ended in murder? If you are unfamiliar with the reality show Wife Swap, the premise was that the show would find two families that just could not be more different, just polar opposites. Like one family would be super duper clean and then the other family would just be total slobs. The wives would swap families for 2 weeks, but before leaving their families, the wives would write a list of rules that the new wife must follow for the first week. And for the second week, the new wife could just rule this new family however she wanted. In 2007, the show was looking for a certain type of family when they reached out to the Stockdale family.
Kathy and husband Tim moved from the city to rural Ohio in isolation in order to shelter and protect their sons.
We moved out to the farm to develop wholesome values in our children.
The day we moved, we heard gunshots in our neighborhood, and I knew we had made the right decision.
The Stockdales are devoutly religious and have banned TV and video games, believing it's their moral responsibility to censor all that their kids watch and listen to. And the boys are also homeschooled in order to control their influences. In order to earn privileges, the boys must gain tokens by completing a chore they must then check off on a chart.
It also addresses attitudes. Just because the job is done does not mean it's necessarily done in the right way. The boys pay 20 tokens to listen to a radio show.
It's important to instill in our children that you need to work and not expect to have a handout.
Tim and Kathy Stockdale lived in this really secluded area of Ohio on this remote farm with their 4 sons, Calvin, Charles, Jacob, and James. And to say that the family was religious, conservative, and strict would be a massive understatement. The 4 sons had a lot of rules, and they were like really strict rules. Boys were working, busy, and productive every single waking moment. Kathy homeschooled them, and if they weren't working on schoolwork, they were either at church doing chores or doing farm work. Family only ate food that they grew themselves, so obviously junk food was banned, but TV was banned, video games were banned. There was also a strict no dating policy, and also the boys weren't allowed to have any friends because their mother Kathy saw friends as meaningless relationships. Just completely isolated from the modern world in their own little bubble, and Kathy and Tim said that they were raising their children this way because they didn't want the outside world to corrupt their children. Really, the only fun that the Stockdale boys got to have was performing in their family band with their dad and their brothers.
It's a hard life, but it's a good life.
Kathy Stockdale swapped with Lori Tonkovic for their wife swap episode, and obviously the Tonkovic family was completely opposite from the Stockdale family. The Tonkovics were big partiers, their houses were pretty dirty, the kids didn't have like any responsibility, and not only were the kids allowed to date, but their significant others were allowed to live in the same household with them and also sleep in their beds. One really controversial thing that Kathy Stockdale did during the episode when it was her turn to rule over the Tonkovic household was bring a priest